How's it going, guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we have a Criterion Haul. I picked up a few more Criterions for the month of November, so I'm excited to go through. I didn't go to Barnes & Noble or anything. These are all online buys from Barnes & Noble online. But I didn't go to a physical store because there just really aren't any near me, unfortunately. So these are just online buys that got shipped here. So let's go through and see what we got. The first movie I got is a movie that I saw when it came out on Amazon. I believe this is like an Amazon original movie, and it blew me away when it came out in 2019. I was really happy to see that Criterion released this and gave it a 4K release, actually. So this is 4K version of The Sound of Metal. That's what the front looks like. This is what the back looks like. This is The Sound of Metal. It's a film by Darius Marder, and this is number 1151. The Sound of Metal is a story about a metal musician. He's a drummer, and he slowly starts to lose his hearing. And music is his life. He's a recovering drug addict or alcoholic, one of the two. He's a recovering addict, and music is just his life. It's what he does. It's a huge part of him. And so the fact, if anybody loses their hearing, like, that's a huge change in your life. It's going to affect every aspect of your life. But especially for somebody who music is such a big part of their life, it really has this deep impact. So the movie is about him kind of coping with that situation. And he ends up in a facility where, for the hard of hearing, for people that are deaf, and it's just him kind of coping with that. And it's a really great, really well put together, beautifully shot, beautiful film. And I highly recommend that. That's Sound of Metal. You can pick it up at barnesandnoble.com, or maybe if you actually have a physical store nearby that carries Criterion, they might have it in store. But I recommend checking it out. That is Sound of Metal. Alright, the next one I got is a classic coming of age story. It's a classic comedy. It's directed by Amy Heckerling, and it's based off the book and written by Cameron Crowe. And that, of course, is Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Such a cool, iconic cover. This is the back. And this is number 1075. If you haven't seen Fast Times at Ridgemont High, you're really missing out. This is very much in the vein of John Hughes films. If you're into John Hughes films, this is similar. It's such a fun, interesting look of this ensemble cast, of what it means to just be in high school, and all the coming of age tropes are all in here in the best possible way. These are just a really fun ride. It's a really fun peeling back the curtains and just kind of looking at the high school experience. From what I understand, Cameron Crowe wrote this book, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and it's based on this experience where he pretended to be a teenager. He already graduated high school, but he was still pretty young, in his early 20s, and I think he just looked young enough, and somehow the security isn't very good in the high schools back in the day, and he just pretended to be a high schooler and just didn't live, but went to high school for like a couple weeks and wrote about his experiences, and then they made this movie kind of about the things that he saw and the experiences and the observations that he made during that time. So it's pretty interesting. It's got this like interesting background and interesting story. Jennifer Jason Leigh stars in this, and along with many other people. You can find Forrest Whitaker is in this. Nicolas Cage has a cameo in this before he's actually, doing anything else, Nicolas Cage. So there's just so many people in this and it's great. Sean Penn plays Spicoli. There's so many actors that you'll recognize and notice from this film, and they're great. They all do an amazing performance. It's really funny. It's super bad before super bad. It's all those high school movies that you've seen nowadays. I mean, this really kind of started all that. So it's a rated R comedy. It's super fun. It's hilarious. So I highly recommend that. That's Fast Times at Ridgemont High. What more can I say? Alright. So kind of keeping with the theme of 80s comedy, coming of age. I'm a fan of John Hughes. And John Hughes is this one on the Criterion Collection. And that is my favorite John Hughes movie, The Breakfast Club. That's what the cover looks like. This is the back. And this is number 905. This came out in 1985, so a couple years after Fast Times at Ridgemont High. This movie is so cool, so dark at times, so beautiful, so open and truthful and funny. I mean, this is a great coming of age comedy. John Hughes is a legend. He captures coming of age and like young adolescent mentality. I feel like in such a strong and powerful way, and relatable and real. So just having one of his films on the Criterion Collection, I'm super excited to find and get this. I had to get it. This is The Breakfast Club. It takes place in one set location, and the amount of it's 97 minutes, so it's not very long at all. So he doesn't waste your time. It's very clean. It's very fresh. The amount of excitement that he can draw just from being in one room, essentially. Most of the film is just in one room. And then it all just takes place at one school on a Saturday, detention. And you get this group of misfits that all kind of judge each other. It's about misconceptions at high school. It's about cliques and staying in your social class in high school. So I highly recommend checking this out if you have not seen it. I'm sure you have, but if you have not, you got to pick up The Breakfast Club. It's awesome. Alright, coming up next, this is a trilogy, and I had never seen this trilogy before, but one thing you got to know about me. It's John Hughes and romance movies. I'm a sucker for a good romance movie. I don't know. I just like them. So this is legendary in the romance game. From what I understand, these movies just are like the pinnacle of like indie romantic movies, and this is the Before Trilogy. This is what the front looks like. This is the back. This is Richard Linklater and Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy, and the two of them are just amazing. At this point I've seen the first two because I really wanted to get into these. I was like, I gotta check these out. I just have Before Midnight is the third film, so it's 3 films: Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and Before Midnight. The first film essentially is Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy play these two characters that are traveling in Europe. They're both not in the country that they're from. Ethan Hawke plays an American, and Julie Delpy, I believe, she lives in Europe. I know that. She lives in Europe, he lives in America. They come across each other on a train just by happenstance, and they spark a conversation. He's clearly kind of interested in her, and she's kind of interested in him too. So they're a little flirty, and they have great conversation. But the stop comes. So Ethan Hawke is supposed to leave. He's got to go back to America the next day, and he's going to stay for one night in this town in Europe to wait for the airport or whatever his flight. So he has to convince her to stay with him just for one night, just to keep the conversation going, essentially, because he doesn't want it to end because they hit it off so well. And that's kind of the setup of the movie, and the whole movie is just them talking. So if you're into dialogue movies, if you're into movies that just feel like you're watching real life, watching like really good, interesting conversation and stuff, and if you're into romance, these are for you. I haven't seen the third film, but I've seen the first two, and I highly recommend it. They've become some of my favorite films, and they're great. So this is the Before Trilogy. I highly recommend it. It's a beautiful, let me show you too. It's a beautiful set. So this is what the first one looks like. This is the second one. And this is the third one, Before Midnight. It's a beautiful set. Yeah, I can't recommend it more. It's the Before Trilogy. I highly recommend you pick it up. You definitely won't be disappointed. I highly recommend it. Oh, and I don't remember if I said the number. It's 856 if I didn't say. Okay, second to last. I was able to pick up Ridley Scott's Thelma and Louise. This is a 4K release, and it is number 1180. This is what the inside looks like. Back. Comes with 3 discs. We got the 4K edition, the Blu-ray, and I'm assuming the bonus features. Yeah, Blu-ray number 2, which is gonna have the bonus features. Comes with a booklet that has a couple different essays. What do we got here? It comes with 3 essays. So that's pretty cool. Let me get this back in here. I have not seen Thelma and Louise before. I know that this is one of Brad Pitt's first films. I know it's Ridley Scott directing. I know it's Susan Sarandon and who else? Gina Davis. Susan Sarandon and Gina Davis play this duo, this couple. Maybe, I'm not entirely sure. I honestly don't know much about this film. I've seen parodies of it, like in Wayne's World, you know, they have that like parody. It's a pretty famous scene. I won't spoil it, but there's a pretty famous scene that in this that has stood the test of time. There's a lot of parodies. There's a lot of references to it. But I have not seen Thelma and Louise. And it's Ridley Scott. I really like Ridley Scott. He's a pretty great director, so I'm excited to get into this. I don't know much else about it. I know Brad Pitt, this is one of his first roles. It's Ridley Scott, Susan Sarandon, Gina Davis. I'm excited to check it out. It should be a lot of fun. That is Thelma and Louise. Have you guys seen it before? If you have, let me know. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed watching this one, because I haven't seen it, but I'm excited to check it out. That is Thelma and Louise. That is number 1180. Alright, last but not least, this one, what can you say about this film? There's so much, there's a lot. When you start collecting Criterion films, there's certain ones that kind of keep popping up, and there's certain ones that kind of have a reputation about them. This one has a pretty big reputation as being one of the most like controversial and disturbing films of all time. And of course I am talking about Salo. That is what it looks like, the cover. This is the back. This is Pier Paolo Pasolini. I think I said that right. Salo, or the 120 Days of Sodom. And this is a film from 1976. I believe it was filmed in Italy. And this movie is crazy. I've seen this movie. It is crazy. It is not for the faint of heart. I can't really recommend this film. It's interesting. Honestly, modern day stuff, if you look at things like Squid Game kind of takes from this. Like, it for sure takes some inspiration from this movie. Squid Game is a lot more fun, I would say, even though it's very dark, but it has a kind of this playful tone to it. It's not nearly as graphic and dark as this. So don't think like, oh, I like Squid Game, I should watch this. It's not necessarily a one-to-one relation, but this movie, I'm sure, inspired Squid Game and a few other things like it. It's very dark. It's very dark. I cannot recommend it unless you're into just extremely dark, extremely crazy horror films. This is the inside cover. That's what the film looks like. This has a meaty booklet. This is one of the bigger books I've seen from Criterion, and there's just a bunch of different essays in this because this film was so controversial and it was made illegal in a bunch of different countries, and so Criterion's kind of about the conservation and preserving films. So this is one that they felt like needed to be preserved. So that's why it's kind of important. There's I can't really show you what's inside of this book. There's images and stuff that YouTube will take it down. So I will not show what's inside of this book. I can't really recommend you watch this film, but if you do, it wasn't me. All right, I didn't put that on you. It's an interesting film, to say the least. It's very dark and something different that you've probably never seen before. It's crazy. It's crazy. This is probably one of the craziest films I've ever seen. If you do any research on it, I would do some research on it before you watch the film, if you decide that you want to check it out. Just to give you a little heads up of what you might be in store for. Can I get this inside of the booklet? Wait for it. There we go. Anyway. Oh, and it is number 17. I don't think I said that before. This is number 17. It's Solo. Don't watch this. Don't watch it. But that's what that looks like. Alright, so this is a little bit of a longer video, but you guys seem to like the other Criterion Collection films, so I wanted to do another big haul. I wanted to show you guys some things from the collection, some cool things that I picked up this November. What did you pick up? Was there anything that you've been waiting for that you were waiting for the sale? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. I want to see what you guys are watching. Let's start a conversation. Let's see what you guys like. I'm pretty excited to get into these. Most of these I've seen on this haul, but there's a couple that I haven't, so I want to check those out. Anyway, video's running long enough. Be sure to subscribe. If I still haven't hit 100 subscribers, if you do subscribe, you'll be in a contest, a raffle, and I will be giving away a copy of Rushmore, so that will come out soon. Alright, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. I'm rambling. I will see you guys on the next video.